What is up, and welcome to an all-new episode of DLF Weekly. I'm excited to be joined by a fantastic group today. We love having smart football people on, helping us break down the draft, but we're going to do things a little bit different today. Today, we're going to go through and see if there's any lessons that we can learn from last year's draft. So we're going to go redraft the 2020 rookie class, Superflex mock. And to do that, we brought in some pretty smart people as well. So I'm going to start with the guy right here to my left. His name is Shane. Shane, go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone. Tell them where they can find you and what you're working on.
John, thank you. Because when Calvin, you start doing left and right, I don't know. What do I? Oh wait, I write for DLF. I do Mannequin Show for DLF. I did a draft guide, a dynasty draft guide for DLF. So if you're a DLF subscriber, go get your free draft guide. And if you're not a subscriber, well, then go become a subscriber so that you can get your free draft guide, dingus. And also, thank you for watching.
Thank you, Shane. And below him, with clearly the best hair at DLF is Tyler. Tyler, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me, as it says on the screen, at DLF_carp. I write a lot of articles for DLF. Sometimes I come on shows. And yeah, I'm on Twitter a lot. So if you ever have any Dynasty questions, I do a lot of Dynasty question threads if you want to ask me anything.
Speaking of hair, the man formerly known as the Fantasy Beard joins us here below me, Mr. John Hellkamp. How are you today? And tell everybody what you're working on, where they can find you.
Yeah, doing good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to look back, go into the Wayback Machine and take a look at 2020 and see how things compare to, this time last year or shortly thereafter. Staff writer at Deadspin. So I'm over there doing pretty much all my writing, wide range of sports topics, not just fantasy football. But as we get going back into football season next year, there will be consistent fantasy football content over there on Deadspin as well. So yeah, find me there. Find me on Twitter at John Helmkamp right down here. And let's hang out.
Tell us about that hat.
Yeah, man. FF Fit Club. This has been super fun. Kind of just a organic thing that happened talking with a couple, of our Twitter buddies that were working out and kind of challenging each other and inspiring each other. And I mean, I basically just put a hashtag in a comment, and from there it just kind of took off and became a thing. And I'm like, wow, okay, if this is getting so much action, then let's do something with it and make it charitable and do something cool. So decided to reach out to Free and Global, and they put together a line of merchandise, the hat being one of them, a whole bunch of stuff you can get over there, and proceeds are going to Right to Play USA. So being able to go support kind of at-risk and marginalized kids globally and teaching them and giving them skills. And they have their own, programs that teach the teachers in these, countries all over the world and stuff like that. It's just a really, really cool organization. So hang out, get some workouts in, challenge your buddies, get healthier, and help some kids in the process. So that's kind of what we're doing. So on Twitter, it's at FF_Fit Club is the handle for it.
Very cool. It hasn't quite got me in the gym yet, but it has got me thinking about the gym more. And I'm definitely
that's the first step.
On my way.
You're at least thinking about it. So
yeah.
Well, if you just wear the hat.
Shameless branding.
Yeah, if you wear the hat, you actually burn 400 calories. So
it's so heavy. Yeah. It's so heavy that it burns calories.
Steel. It's actually steel.
Mm-hmm.
So, without further ado, because I don't care about Julian Edelman retiring. I mean, congratulations. Glad you're doing that. But from a dynasty standpoint.
Getting a little verklempt over there.
Take some water, bro.
All choked up about Julius.
Yeah, I really do care about Julian. Okay. All right, somebody talk.
Yeah, while Calvin's dying. So I don't care about Julian Edelman even a little bit. But who do you like better? Who's better, or Julian Edelman? Just curious. Neither deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you had one of them had to be in the Hall of Fame, who would you choose?
Between him,
Wes Welker and Julian Edelman.
Wes Welker.
The original Julian Edelman.
If I had to choose one, it would be Wes. Higher reception totals. Yeah, but I mean, I don't want either of them in the hall. I mean, it's tough. Jules is tough. I can make the argument because one way that I did have it, Bob, you're silly. One way that I did hear it explained by someone at NFL Network, I can't remember who it is, but I like this definition that I heard one time was, can I tell the story of the NFL without this player? If the answer to that is no, then they belong in the Hall of Fame. And with Julian Edelman, I don't know that you can tell the story of the NFL without Julian Edelman, without his catches in the Super Bowl, without those kind of things. So it's an interesting conversation. We've got 5 years before we even really need to start thinking about it. So no need to really dive in on it tonight.
All right. So moving on from Julian Edelman or any of the Patriots, now that I've collected myself from almost dying there, we are going to do a super flex mock draft where we're going to redo the 2020 mock, and we have a guest on, and we're going to be super high tech, and we're going to do it on this Google sheet right here. It's not really high tech.
No,
and of course, we've got 3 guys from DLF here. We're going to let our guest start things off, Mr. John Hellkamp. So without further ado, I say let's go ahead and get this thing started. And John, with the very first pick in the redo of the 2020 draft, you are on the clock.
We all know who I'm most largely affiliated with in my fandom on Twitter. But in Superflex, I can't make the argument at 101. The 101 for me redoing 2020 draft is Justin Herbert. He came in and tore it up. He has outstanding weapons at his disposal. Looking at it now, they're investing even more in the offensive line. They're doing everything right and getting the things around him in order for him to succeed. So, yeah, I think that Justin Herbert and Superflex redoing the 2020 class is the 101. Looked absolutely outstanding as a rookie.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting call. I mean, certainly looked like the number one QB there. Tyler, Shane, anything that's kind of a surprise?
He's good. He's really good. No, I mean, just everything John said. I mean, we saw it last year, and it's amazing to think that he fell to the middle of the first round in a lot of super flex drafts, if not later.
A lot of late first.
Yeah, it was mostly later.
Was it? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm in a 16-team league. No one likes hearing about leagues, but I'm in a 16-team league. And at the 104, I said, I'm getting J.K. Dobbins. I don't need a quarterback. And then immediately said, oh, that's a terrible idea. Let me trade back up and get Justin Herbert at the 105. Yeah, it's funny that he fell that far, and now it looks like he's a slam dunk top 12 quarterback.
Yeah, I would have done the same thing. I would prefer Herbert to any running back, wide receiver, tight end outside of maybe Christian McCaffrey in Superflex. So that's what I would have done as well.
Yeah, and like you guys said, he actually did in May. It was 109. That was after the draft. So yeah, I mean, that's in a Superflex league. That's dropping pretty far for a guy like him, who now jumps all the way up to 101. So. All right, so let's go with the second pick, Mr. Shane. Where are you going?
So I'm not going to be bold or anything. I'm going to take Jonathan Taylor. I mean, basically, his workout metrics last year were on par with, Saquon Barkley, right? And then he got out on the field, and when he actually got a chance to get the full run, he played as well as Saquon Barkley. There's other players behind him here that I know, people say it's super flex, you got to go quarterback. I don't know that Burrow's special. I know Jonathan Taylor is absolutely special. There's no reason he shouldn't be a top 6 running back for the next 3 years. And that's going to be harder for me to get than what I think I can get out of Joe Burrow.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before the show on whether or not there is a case for anybody else as the best running back in that class. Let me ask you, John, I see you shaking your head, but any worries about his ability to catch passes in that offense and from a PPR standpoint, be able to live up to that draft capital?
No.
Nope.
I mean, he had
I don't have any concerns about his ability to catch. Even with Naheem Hines in the picture, we still saw him heavily utilized in the passing attack. He also had the best reception percentage of any player in the entire NFL last season at like 93.5% or something like that. So he caught balls and he did it very, very well. So from a PPR standpoint, yeah, he's not going to be utilized in a scheme like a Christian McCaffrey or an Alvin Kamara where he's going to catch 80 to 100 passes as a running back. I don't think that we're going to see that in the workload for him right now. Maybe that changes with time, a year 3 sort of thing. Like, I think it was year 3 for Ezekiel Elliott that he got 70 plus. So we could definitely see Jonathan Taylor go that direction. But as a pure runner, what he does and his efficiency in the receiving game, like Shane said, top 6-ish running back shouldn't be a problem for him at all on a year-to-year basis. He might not have the overall number 1 running back ceiling because of the receiving work of not getting 80 to 100 receptions, but very few guys do that. And I think that he's going to be right up there contending with those guys, with your Dalvin Cooks, with your Derrick Henrys, with those guys going forward. And I'm not biased at all. Not biased here.
He's an elite talent. There's no doubt about that. I mean, when we're talking about, anybody else other than the quarterbacks here, it obviously makes sense for him to go. He was the first one to go last year before the draft as well. So certainly it makes sense that he's the first one there. So that brings us right along. Number 3 here, Tyler. You got the best quarterback, best running back off the board. Where are we going?
Yeah, they did what I would have done. I would have taken Herbert first, and then I would have taken Taylor second. For all the reasons that were already said. I agree with all of that on Jonathan Taylor. For me, I personally have Justin Jefferson as my dynasty wide receiver 1. I am not maybe as high on Joe Burrow as some people, kind of like Shane said. So I will take Justin Jefferson.
I like it. Does everybody have Justin Jefferson ranked highest among this class in their rankings right now?
For wide receiver?
For wide receiver?
I think I still have CD Lamb, but
yeah, I'm
hard-headed.
It's close. Yeah, I'm with Shane. It's really close for me because I don't think that we got to see the full scope with Dak going down injured. But what we did see out of CD early was freaking ridiculous. So I'm kind of relying a little bit on my, prospect profiling of these guys where I had CD as my wide receiver 1 at that point. So I've got CD and Justin, I think, like right there, 1-2 in that class, very close in dynasty rankings as well. I kind of flip-flop on it day to day. Ask me tomorrow, I might put Justin Jefferson at the 1, but it's really tight for me. It's really close.
I just always go on the production. I mean, we saw it happen with CeeDee Lamb. I mean, there are reasons, Dak Prescott getting injured, but it didn't happen. I mean, as someone who I'm not a scout. I don't watch college football. So like, I got to go based on the 1,400-yard season, and it's not like I dislike CeeDee Lamb. I wrote a whole article about how I think CeeDee Lamb is going to take a massive leap forward in year 2, which is on DLF. Shameless plug. But yeah, I do like CeeDee Lamb. Don't hear what I'm not saying there.
Yeah, I think between those 2 wide receivers, there's no dislike for either of them. I mean, yeah. It's not the situation like you're going from, Justin Jefferson down to even Terry McLaurin. Like, that's not close. To me, like Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, very close. Very, very close. And yeah, Justin Jefferson absolutely balled out last year. So there's every reason in the world to think, you know what? Yeah, he is the number 1 wide receiver in Dynasty. Whereas we are projecting a little bit more with CD.
Yeah, and maybe even projecting a little bit more in terms of volume in that offense. I think, as long as that Minnesota offense is, not throwing the ball as much as they are running it, that's going to make it, tough to match the 1,400-yard season to me. But look, it's an LSU guy. I have no problem going an LSU guy right there. And I'm going to follow up with another one because to me, I think this is good to get Joe Burrow here at number 4. He would be the guy that I would take in a super flex right here in this spot. I like him in the Cincinnati offense. I made a joke that they re-signed Thaddeus Moss, so that takes him out of having to get Kyle Pitts. obviously Moss isn't going to be that big of a deal, but there is some familiarity there. And there's a good chance that he gets Jamar Chase. Now, he needs somebody to block for him and all that too. But even without him, he's got a good offense in front of him. If he can get healthy, not worried about the talent, they're going to run a lot of plays there in Cincinnati. He's going to throw the ball a bunch. And yeah, so at number 4, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow.
It's a steal, right? He was the 101 last year.
Mm-hmm.
I am super concerned that the Cincinnati is going to draft Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow is going to die.
Yeah, me too.
Like, we're going to see a lot of like really like cool scenes of like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins running wide open on the outside by themselves, and Joe Burrow just getting planted into the ground play after play.
You'll see a split screen of Burrow in a sack at the same time as Jamar Chase being wide open. I really think that they need to take Penei Sewell there, personally.
Yeah, former Oregon native here. So that's why Justin Herbert I was higher on than most, because I've been watching the kid literally since high school. And Penei Sewell, guy is just an absolute mauler of an offensive tackle. They need him in Cincinnati so bad. Like, I think it would be a terrible mistake to take Jamar Chase. And it's not because of my Jamar Chase ranking. I would say the same thing if it was Devonta Smith. It would be a terrible decision for them to take a wide receiver at 5 instead of Penei Sewell. Or, hell, if they like Slater more, take Slater. I don't care. But, like, get an offensive lineman there at 5, please, and don't go wide receiver. You guys have plenty of other draft capital if you want to take another wide receiver. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
So we're obviously right now we're taking Trevor Lawrence number 1 in the 2021 drafts, and I think pretty much everybody is. I know there's a couple of Justin Fields guys. Justin Herbert was decidedly the third quarterback taken.
He was QB3, yeah.
QB3, yeah.
Yeah. So is there anybody outside of Lawrence or Fields that makes this kind of jump next year?
I guess Zach Wilson, except that he'll probably already be the 3rd quarterback off the board, so it's not like he can really leap. I can't imagine that he leaps Lawrence or Fields, but look, we didn't imagine that Herbert was going to leap everybody this year, right? Until the Chargers coaching staff decided that they were going to try to murder Tyrod Taylor. He was going to be the starter the rest of the year. So,
as crazy as that is, think about that for a second, how incompetent that coaching staff was. That was their decision.
Yeah. Someone was asking. I was having a conversation about how Justin Fields. Someone was like, he's going to start right away from day one. I'm like, well, stupider things have happened, like them deciding to play Tyrod Taylor over Justin Herbert. So you never know with these coaching staffs in terms of when they feel that a rookie quarterback is ready to be the starting quarterback. So I don't know. It's tough. There's a lot of quarterbacks to like in this draft class. I think Wilson's going to be the easiest decision to say that he's the one that could come out above Lawrence and Fields. If, oh, jeez. Trey Lance. My brain just melted. It's been a long day. Trey Lance, if he does get a starting gig right away, like if he does get to walk in and be a starting quarterback, some of the intangibles that he has, the rushing ability, the strong arm, things like that, he could pop like a Herbert did, because Herbert has that rocket launcher of an arm. So does that guy. So if you have the right coaching staff, the right environment, the right pieces around him, something like that could happen.
But people have learned from last year. I don't think you're going to see Zach Wilson and Trey Lance anywhere near the 110. I think they're going to be, I could see Superflex rookie drafts where you start with 3 quarterbacks, where it goes Lawrence, Wilson.
I've been doing like live mocks with people, even industry people, and also doing a couple actual early rookie drafts because I'm a lunatic. And I'm still only seeing 3 quarterbacks total in the first round.
Really? I don't buy it.
I'm still seeing that happen. I've never seen 3 quarterbacks go in a row to start rookie drafts. I'm still seeing Trey Lance going 108 or later. I don't know. I think it's
DLF rookie ADP.
So real quick, I've done, I just did an industry mock on Saturday last week. I don't remember. It came out on Saturday though. Plug Dynasty Trades HQ. Trey Lance somehow landed at the 110. But again, it's
Yeah.
a mock draft. So that's a mock draft. Now I'm doing a real rookie draft that just started today, and it went Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance.
Okay, interesting.
So I can't imagine all 5 of these guys don't go in the first 10 picks. Maybe Mac Jones is probably going to.
Mac Jones could go around 110 exactly, but if we look, I mean, we just did the DLF, rookie ADP, and Lance was 5th and Wilson was 7th. So I think that's more representative of what you're going to see. Mac Jones was 10th.
Mac Jones.
Jeff, I see you in the comments here. He does say that the destination Debbie, all 5 QBs gone by 108, 109 in Superflex, 3 QBs in a row. But Jeff, let us know where are you taking Mac Jones in San Francisco? Go ahead and let us know, Jeff, because we know that's what you're rooting for. We know you can't wait for it to happen.
Oh, you're just teasing him now. I see what you're doing there. I hear that.
I still want to talk about Justin Jefferson a little bit, but first I want to get through a couple more of these picks. So, John, let's go ahead to you, number 5. Where do you go here?
This is where it starts getting interesting because I think the first 4 is pretty much a lock in some order. You could make an argument for Burrow over Jefferson if you wanted to, but I really think that this 4 in a Superflex draft or redoing 2020 is going to go as a top 4. After that, you can start making a whole bunch of different arguments. And I am going to go CeeDee Lamb as the 105 here. I just believe in the guy's talent, and I believe in Dak. And with them having Swiss cheese for defense, there's no reason to believe that they're not going to be throwing the ball all over the yard again this season and for probably a couple years. And then you might have the other wide receivers be phasing out of this offense and moving on from there. I think that CD is absolutely electric and a great receiver, great route runner, can line up all over the field, and is going to take that mantle as being the wide receiver 1 in Dallas, wearing that 88 very soon. So I'm still going with CeeDee Lamb here. I'm still rocking with him at the 105.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this already. So CeeDee Lamb he was going number 5, which puts him right exactly where his ADP was pre-draft last year. So he was the one we were all over. But Justin Jefferson, man, he was going down. His ADP was 13. Yeah. And now we've got him switched. And I think all of us agreed it's really close. So, I mean, that's a wide receiver that was going as the wide receiver 5 last year.
Justin Jefferson?
Jefferson.
Yeah, it was probably Judy, CeeDee Lamb, Rager were going above him.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And Ruggs actually had a higher ADP.
Whoops.
Oops.
I'm ashamed of us as a people for letting that happen.
I have 0 shares of one Mr. Henry Ruggs.
You should have traded into the first round and made sure that he fell further so that would not be true. We all failed.
I was not a big fan of Ruggs either, so I wouldn't have done that.
No. 106. Man, this draft was so much better than and we knew it too. We knew last year's class was so good, right? And it was just so. And we thought this class was going to be good, and we were fooled. How do you pass on Tua Tagovailoa other than not being able to say his name correctly? So. I gotta go with
Tagovailoa.
Tagovailoa. Viola. I'm taking Towel here. I'm still really high on him. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people writing that narrative that he had a bad rookie season because they don't know what they're talking about.
I'm here.
Yeah, but a lot of folks are talking about how bad he was in his rookie season. But I'm excited to see what he's going to look like with Will Fuller, and possibly Jamar Chase might fall to him. Either way, I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
You mean Najee Harris?
Look,
that would be good.
A little early for a running back, no?
I don't think so.
Okay. No, I'm talking at what is it, 16 that they have? They got
it's 16?
So.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
18, yeah.
Okay. 18 for me is perfect for Najee.
Yeah. Or Kyle. Look, if they take Pitts or Jamar Chase at 6, like the Eagles should have, that's fine with me. Either or.
The disgruntled Eagles fan over here.
Wouldn't it be amazing if they actually walk away with that? If they go like Pitts, Najee in that, like, oh my goodness,
that's what I'm
like.
That's what they should do.
Opportunity.
You know, well, that's what happens when your front office trades Larry Tunsil for 47 first-round picks.
Yes,
that front office. I couldn't name one dude in it, but they are the greatest front office that's ever existed in the history of football.
Chris Greer is the GM there, right? Chris Greer.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure, he should be a saint.
He's a very strong
capital.
GM for sure.
It's pretty amazing.
So I'm excited because I think Tao is very underrated. I think he had a better year than people are giving him credit for. I'm never going to say his name correctly. It doesn't matter how much I draft him, and how much I sing his praises. Tua.
Just call him Tua.
Tua.
Just call him Tua. That's
Tua.
All you need to say. Just Tua.
I like Tua here. Now, just so you know, this is really hard to pass on a guy that I just passed on.
I want to include a bunch of these comments, but every time I do it, like covers up John's face. I always hate that. Yeah, Matt chimes in. Last year, top 3 went Judy, Lamb, Jefferson. People were calling me dumb for having Jefferson 3rd. He can only play the slot. That is true. There was a lot of people talking about Jefferson that way last year. Yeah, and then Jazz is picked 8 and 11. Not sure he'll get a good QB there in super flex. Might be able to get one of the, Mac Jones, somebody like
Mac
that.
Jones at 8.
I mean, you'll get Mac Jones at 8 if you want Mac Jones.
But I'd rather.
I'd rather not.
Yeah.
But he'll be there.
Yeah.
Yep. So Tua, he kind of ends what I would guess. I mean, there is still a good quarterback on the board, but I'm curious to see now at this point where he's going to go, because a lot of people even have that quarterback ranked ahead of Tua right now. But we go to Tyler to see, and I always have trouble reading his facial expressions. Where are we going with this one, Tyler?
Well, we'll go to the player that I agree with what John and Shane said about I had the same top 4 that they did, but we'll go to the player that I would have picked 5th in this exercise with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Who I really like, by the way.
I can't be mad at this. God, I'm just like looking at this board again and who's still available. Last year was so good. I'm sorry.
Yes, it was. The talent in this draft was just kind of crazy. I am a little bit annoyed that DeAndre Swift is on the Lions. I wish he were elsewhere, but he displayed his pass catching upside in year 1. I'm not afraid of Jamal Williams at all. And I think that he's going to take a step forward in year 2. And hopefully Jared Goff is not as bad as I think he is. And the offense is a little bit better than a lot of people think it's going to be, including me. So hopefully his raw talent can kind of outshine some of the ancillary and surrounding problems that he has on that team. So I'll bet on him.
Yeah, DeAndre Swift was...
Go
ahead, John.
They got Deuce Staley in the room now, and Deuce Staley is absolutely in love with Swift. So I think that Swift is really primed well. And say what you want about Goff, but he did fine with Gurley. So if they're able to utilize some of those opportunities and checkdowns and dump offs and easy completions to the running back, then Swift could be in a really, really good position to perform incredibly well in PPR with those receiving opportunities.
Yeah, we're still pretty in lockstep with where these guys were going, although Swift is technically falling a little bit. There's so much talent here. The guys get moved up. Swift went 4, but it's not like falling to 7 is that, like, when you look at the guys in front of him, it's not like, falling to 7 is that big of a deal in this class. But there's still a lot of like just humongous names here on the board. I'm going to go with a guy that I think is getting a lot of attention now, but I was taking him here last year as well, and he was actually going as the number 7. He was going as the RB4, and that's Cam Akers, who, I know there's Darrell Henderson is still there. I know there's a lot of people wondering if how he finished the year is what he can do next year, and I think that's fair. I always thought Cam Akers was one of the most talented running backs in this really talented class. I didn't think he had the blocking at Florida State that he really needed to have. And, now that he's in the NFL and he's got Sean McVay and Matt Stafford's going to open things up, in my opinion, I really like what Cam Akers, his value right now is really good. And I'm of the guys that are left, I have questions about all of them, including Akers, but the one that I want the most here is Akers.
Yeah, that's what I would have done if I had been in your spot as well. I thought about taking Akers. I've thought about this a lot over the last week between Akers and Swift, but I've just decided that I am going to hold to the idea that I just think Swift is significantly better as a player. So even though the offense isn't as good, I'll stick with the player evaluation and stick with Swift over Akers. But if you went with someone went with Akers over Swift, I wouldn't really knock them for it.
All right, John, over to you at number 9.
All right, so here's the one that came out of nowhere, and we're going to go with Jalen Hurts as quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that he deserves the spot here as a late first in Superflex. I always thought that he kind of got a raw deal in terms of evaluation from the fantasy community, because all that he did in college was produce in 2 different conferences for 2 different teams and absolutely tore it up in both of them. He's like one of the only players ever, if not the only player, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, to win Conference Player of the Year in 2 different conferences in his college career. So the dude is just electric. He's a dual threat quarterback, which everyone wants, that Konami code type of guy. This is him. Now, I still have a lot of questions about the Eagles as a team, and they need to help him a lot in terms of what they surround him with. Hopefully that trade back out of the first doesn't hurt them, and they're still able to land a really good wide receiver there. If they're able to get a Devonta Smith or a Jalen Waddle right there, I would love it. I think that would be a really good move for them. But I think in terms of talent, I think that Hurts is going to take a big step forward in his second year. He showed really good signs in his first. Enough to secure the job, because there's been way too much chatter and rumors around the Eagles this offseason for my liking, in terms of, well, maybe they don't love him. Maybe he's not the quarterback, and maybe they're going to get a quarterback there at 6, or maybe they're even going to trade up from 6 to make sure they get one. It's like, shut up and give the dude a job. Like, just let him be your quarterback and address your other needs. So hopefully by them trading back, we can like squash all of that shit and stop with these rumors about him not being the franchise quarterback. I want him to be the franchise quarterback, and I think that he has the talent to be it. And I think that given like the start to this year, if he gets off to a fast start, then I think it's going to be like, okay, we got our guy and we can lock it down. I am very worried about the Philly faithful, though, if he doesn't get off to a fast start. So I'll roll the dice a little bit here on Jalen Hurts, going for a quarterback that I think has very, very high upside for his rushing ability, and also can do passing.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Jalen Hurts was last year. ADP was going after Jordan Love. We're taking him 5th.
Well, in fairness, though, no one saw the absolute bomb of Carson Wentz's career in 1 year.
Right.
It's historic regression across the board. Like, it's almost impressive. It's impressively bad how bad
I
lost his job.
I suggest going on YouTube, search Carson Wentz 2020 lowlights. There's a wonderful video you can watch, and you will never think that Carson Wentz is any good ever again. And another shameless plug, my Jalen Hurts article published on DLF today. So you can go read it. I won't spoil the whole thing. Let's just say I'm not as positive on Jalen Hurts as either John or Shane. So I would not have picked him here. I think there's a lot of uncertainty around him. The article is called Dynasty Uncertainty, Jalen Hurts. So they traded for an extra 2022 first. I see Jalen Hurts as having a 1-year audition. If he's not good, that starting job's gone. So just keep that in mind.
So I've heard this a couple times, though, where people have said, well, the Eagles have a lot of draft capital next year. All right, well, if Hurts is bad, one of them is going to be an early pick. We'll just assume, right? Top 10. The other 2 picks are going to be in the 20s, though, because they're the Colts and Miami's picks. Like, those aren't going to be good picks. Those aren't going to be enough to get you up to 101. or whatever they call it in the real draft.
Right, but if he's bad and they have a pick in the top 10 and 2 additional firsts, that's enough to secure a quarterback in the 2022 class. There's often multiple quarterbacks. I don't know the 2022 class that well, but every year there's at least 2 quarterbacks that you want, and they'll be able to get one. So if he's bad, he's not going, and the Eagles are 5-12, he's not going to be the starting quarterback in 2022. It's that simple. But if he's good,
Spencer Rattler and Sam Howell right now are the top 2 guys for next year's class of quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'll definitely trust you on that because I know who those people are, but that's about it when it comes to the 2022 class.
It's not as strong as this class. There won't be 5 quarterbacks going in the top 10.
Well, how often are there?
We said the same thing last year. We didn't have Mac. No one had Mac Jones in their top 10, I don't believe.
Or Zach Wilson, right?
Or Zach Wilson, yeah.
Matt says Carson Wentz comeback player of the year 2021.
Ooh,
it's going to be Dak.
I can say it.
It's Dak Prescott, right?
I would bet on Carson Wentz loses job over Carson Wentz comeback player of the year.
Well,
yeah.
I don't even know what to do.
Shane, pick 10.
I mean,
love you, Jordan.
Me too.
This is really hard for me, but Antonio Gibson.
There's still so many good players, right? That's why it's hard, isn't it?
And and specifically the guy that I was thinking of taking there. Again, it's more projection. I think he's going to be a baller, but now, I mean, we saw what Gibson could do. I mean, he ended up being everything like we thought. A high comp wise, we thought he could be, which is very rare because, a lot of times guys come into the league and we're like, oh, no, you don't understand. He can be used in multiple ways. And they didn't even use him correctly last year. They didn't throw him the ball enough. They just made him a running back, which was the one part of his game we were concerned about. And he was excellent. At it. And it's funny too, because, I got to see him his first game of the year against the Eagles. From his first game to his final game of the year, he almost looked like a different guy. Like, he didn't look like a running back that first week. He looked like a wide receiver playing running back to me. By the end of the year, he looked like a running back. And if they actually remember that he's an excellent receiver, he could put up some scary numbers.
They got to remember that.
Here's the thing with Antonio Gibson. He was relegated to the bench behind Kenneth Gainwell. I mean, he very, very rarely saw the field because of Kenneth Gainwell in Memphis. So I was wrong on Gibson. There were Gibson truthers on Twitter, a lot of people that I respect, that were like, hell yeah, I'm going to take the outlier measurables. I worked out literally with the wide receiver group at the combine for everything that he can do in this Swiss Army knife approach. And they were all in on it. And I was like, I can't forecast that. I don't see it. The thing about Antonio Gibson, and while we're doing this going back to 2020 and the what did you learn, this is the biggest thing that I learned from 2020, and it was because of Antonio Gibson. Those outliers are exactly what you want to try and bet on with your late round picks, because Antonio Gibson was a 3rd round rookie pick. This isn't someone that you had to use mid to late first or a high second on taking. So with someone that you're getting in the 3rd round of your rookie drafts, I am absolutely willing to take the outlier on physical measurements, on ability, on athleticism, on those testing numbers and things like that for what it could translate to in the NFL. Whereas I don't really care about his floor being low, because those are lottery ticket, picks anyways. If they hit, fantastic, like Antonio Gibson. If they don't, you're not really expecting much out of them anyways. So that was my biggest learning moment from the 2020 draft class, was Antonio Gibson. I would be willing to take an Antonio Gibson there in the 3rd, as opposed to Henry Ruggs late first, early second. I didn't take him because I didn't see it, but if his value was where Gibson is, then I would have. So that was a big learning moment.
And also for anyone who missed on Gibson, remember that at that point, the Washington team had Darius Geis on the team, and that was not something you could have foreseen. And
Adrian Peterson at the time too.
Yeah, but that's different because that's an older player. But you couldn't have foreseen Darius Geis just disappearing from the NFL a month before the season started. So
Yeah.
even if you missed on Antonio Gibson, that sometimes in Dynasty, things like that are going to happen that are not predictable. And that's just part of the game.
All right, Tyler, where are you going right here?
Well, I mean, and I like Antonio Gibson, but I definitely would have gone with a player that I'm going to take over him, J.K. Dobbins, who I definitely like just a little bit better. I love J.K. Dobbins. I wish that he got a little bit more rushing share. They did finally get rid of Mark Ingram. He is going to have to split with Gus Edwards, but Dobbins was a beast down the stretch. Once they phased Ingram out of the offense, Dobbins was doing very well. And I think that he's going to continue to do well. The Ravens run more than any other team, and I don't see why that's going to change. So, yeah, I mean, if he can he doesn't have, there's a lot of rushing touchdown upside in the Ravens offense. So doesn't have to get 250 carries to necessarily be successful. If he can get in the low 200s, I still think he can be a mid RB1.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, right here at 11, taking Dobbins. I mean, he was obviously going higher than that last year. And part of it is, again, we're pushing up some of these guys that went in and performed really well. And Dobbins didn't necessarily do anything wrong, but I do agree that his situation, I wish it was a little bit better. If he was in the situation that Gibson was in, you would definitely be flip-flopping that, right?
I would. I think what you should have said there was, if you were in the situation Akers were in, then I would be all in. I think Dobbins is better than Akers,
right.
But I have Akers ranked higher just because Akers' situation is significantly better. So, I make that switch there, but I would love him to be on the Rams in Akers' spot. Not as much on Washington. I'm not as confident in the Washington offense as I am in the overall confidence in the Ravens scoring a lot of points.
Okay, so situation-wise, you don't want potentially the lead running back on the heaviest as opposed to the running back in LA that's going to have Matt Stafford that they just invested in a quarterback that likes to pass the ball a lot more. To me, if I'm choosing between those two situation-wise, I think that J.K. Dobbins is in a better situation to succeed than Cam Akers is.
Problem is in PPR, Lamar just doesn't dump off. He just doesn't do it. And Stafford has a history of throwing to the running backs. I mean, look at what he did in his whole career with Theo Riddick, who wasn't very good, and he constantly threw him the ball. So I would just
Theo Riddick was a slot receiver.
Oh, sure, but Stafford. Well, look at what Stafford did with DeAndre Swift then last year. If you're telling me I could get those kind of receptions, I want receptions in PPR, and J.K. Dobbins is not going to get that. So that's why I would prefer him to be on the Rams. But I totally hear what you're saying. That's why I prefer Dobbins over Gibson, because I think that the Ravens offense is going to score more points than the Washington offense.
So I actually have Cam Akers higher. I just wanted to play devil's advocate. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
How would you, John?
Very close.
Dobbins actually had more targets and receptions last year than Cam Akers for whatever that's worth.
Hilarious.
For whatever it's worth. Different quarterbacks, different year. I get that. So what's weird about me is I like Dobbins over Akers. And I if I had to redo my pick, I think I would have taken Dobbins over Gibson.
But again, remember that I think all of us like all of these running backs.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, nobody dislikes any of these players. So
no, we haven't gotten to the point in the draft where I'm like, oh, well, I guess I have to take this guy. These are all guys I'm like, oh, I really like this guy.
It's all about which one do I like more, not which one do I dislike.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. No, whereas this year you're going to be at the 201 and you're going to be like, but I was told this class was a lot stronger than this.
My only hesitation with Dobbins is just that this season on Twitter, multiple times, we're going to be like, why aren't they giving the ball to Dobbins more? Why aren't they giving it to him? Why is Edwards playing every other drive?
Because
why are they? That's going to happen a bunch.
They love Gus Edwards in Baltimore. They love him.
It's why I finally relented after 3 months of resisting and put Akers over Dobbins. I had Dobbins over Akers before, but I just kept thinking about it and looking at it. And I, eventually it's okay to change your mind, I guess is what I'm saying there. Like if you do research, it doesn't have to be changed by what happens on the field. If you feel, give the advice you believe that day. If it changes over a month, that's fine. Like just speak your truth on that day. It's all good if you have a little bit of mind changing over time. It's no big deal.
I think what Matt is saying right here is true. I just don't think he's going to get that many touches.
300.
Not the way they're
getting 300 touches.
He's not getting. Dobbins ain't getting 220. Not with Gus Edwards in the system as well. I think that a 220 carry season is probably a fair projection for what we're going to
220 carries. Yeah, carries.
Yes.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
So I'm taking James Robinson here at 12. To me, like I think we've overreacted and he's been pushed down a little bit too much because he's going to be, in my opinion, he'll be the lead running back here. I mean, obviously hoping they don't draft anybody, but no reason to think he's not going to be the lead running back on an offense that's going to be vastly improved. Darrell Bevel comes in as his offensive coordinator. That helps the running back position.
Responsible for DeAndre Swift last year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do people actually think that he's not going to be the starting running? I've actually heard this before, and I don't get it. Like the general manager said recently that they're interested in bringing in running backs to complement James Robinson in the running back room. They didn't say like James Robinson is the starting running back right now. Like James Robinson is their starter. Yeah, maybe they'll draft someone in the 4th round because I don't really like Carlos Hyde. They could use a 3rd running back on the team, but
yeah, they need depth.
Yeah, Robinson is their starter. There's no doubt about that. And I feel like people still think that there's some doubt about that. And there just shouldn't be.
So I'm making an executive decision here, and we'll do round 2 next week because depending on your guys' schedule, I don't know if you can come back. Great. If you can't, we'll do it again. But there's a lot of great names that are still on the board for us. And I know a couple of us have shows we're going to after this, but this is a lot of fun. And honestly, like redrafting this just makes me wish that I could redo a 2020 rookie draft because there are so many good players in this class. Goodness gracious.
You could have built your franchise around last year's draft class. Like that is dynasty fantasy football player's wet dream is you traded just all you had was rookie picks last year. Like your team was trash and somehow you had 1 through 12. Like just look at the team you could have made.
Yeah.
Like, if you had like 4 or 5 picks in that draft last year, you just absolutely crushed it.
And there's still good players we didn't even pick.
There's 2 guys that I think have wide receiver 1 upside still available. So
What up, D-Bro? See you in the chat.
Yep. D-Bro can't get by without saying make sure you tune in. I haven't announced it on Twitter yet, but make sure you tune in because I'm having Derek Brown and Adam Pfeiffer on tomorrow. We're going to talk about some drafts. We're going to have a fun little game. I'm going to try and we're going to spend an hour talking about Amon-Ra St. Brown compared to Marvin Jones. And that's Derek Brown is going to his head's going to explode.
Oh,
that's fascinating.
Yeah. I'm going to have to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that was fun. Thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate everything that you're doing. We're going to unshare this. And yeah, make sure you go check out these guys, all their work. They're doing fascinating things. John, love your work over there with Deadspin. It's seriously like you're a great writer. I love everything that you do. Make sure you're following him on Twitter. Really good breakdowns. And Tyler is cranking out, 11, 12 articles a day at DLF. So make sure you check that out.
Something like that.
And I think every time I log on to Twitter or YouTube, I see Shane's face. So make sure you just are keeping track of him and all the shows that he's doing. So yeah, with that, last thing I'll say, make sure you subscribe to dynastyleaguefootball.com. Seriously, if you're a Dynasty player and you are not logged in and checking out the premium subscription for Dynasty League Football, you are missing out because look, the tools that are in the background of DLF alone are just worth so much. Plus the 2021 rookie guide and the 2021 dynasty draft guide are so good. It's like such amazing information that's in there. Can't even believe it. So anyway, I think this was a good start. I want to do round 2 next week. And for For those of you tuning in tomorrow, I'll see you then. Otherwise, we'll see all of you on DLF